Hello and welcome to Legally Speaking with me, Tarun Nangia. An order which has greatly spread positive news in the industrial circles of India. An order delivered by Justice Vikramnath and Justice A.G. Masi. The order by these two judges, the bench held that even if there are criminal proceedings pending, that itself can't be used to put an indefinite bar on the renewal of passport. For example, if there are cases going on against a promoter, if the court allows that person, then he should be allowed to go abroad, conduct business meetings. And in this case, of course, Justice Vikramath and Justice A.G. Masi allowed Mahesh Kumar Agarwal, who we know as the promoter of Adhunik Metals, to travel abroad and do his business. Directed the Kolkata Port Office to reissue his ordinary passport. Now, this feels like a small thing, but imagine if the promoter of a company that employs thousands of people can't go abroad to do his business, raise capital, do so much of work. Then the whole company stops, and of course, employees also get affected. That's why the court's order is very, very encouraging for the industry and business as a whole in India. And I thought we should sort of, in a sense, talk about this. I would want to welcome Justice Krishna Murari, who has served as a judge at the Supreme Court of India, now is a leading arbitrator. Good to see you, sir. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Tarun.
I have with me, thank you. I have with me someone who argues at the Supreme Court Delhi, Senior Advocate Pinky Anand. Ma'am has served as the ASG for a long number of years, starting 2014. Now, of course, she bats on the other side, which is the Defense Council. Good to see you and thank you for your time. I have with me Advocate Sri Venkatesh, who actually does a lot of work at Supreme Court and the APTEL, the Appellate Tribunal for Electricity, and the Delhi High Court. Good to see you, Sri Venkatesh. Thank you for your time. At the outset, I want to request Sri Venkatesh to explain this case. What is this about? And then we go on to the comments of our eminent panelists. Over to you, Sri Venkatesh, for your explainer on this.
Thank you, Tarun. So the issue in this matter actually relates to a couple of proceedings which are pending against Mr. Mahesh Agarwal under the NIA Act as well as the CBI court. CBI court, there was a conviction. The proceedings are otherwise pending in the NIA court. He had anyways filed an appeal before the Delhi High Court against the CBI judgment, and there was a suspension of his sentence. So during the pendency of all these proceedings, a couple of orders were passed by the trial court asking him to deposit his passport. The issue arose that his passport was expiring in 2023. So under the Passports Act, he had to apply for a fresh passport for a period of 10 years, for which he made an application in both proceedings, asking for no objection from the concerned NIA court as well as the Delhi High Court so that he can get his passport reissued. Both the courts granted the no objection certificate. However, the passport authority came to a conclusion that after reading section 6, subsection 2, subsection F, that since there is a criminal proceeding against him, he cannot be reissued a passport for a full term of 10 years. In fact, he can't be issued a passport, against which he, of course, approached the Calcutta High Court first in a writ petition, which was dismissed. He took the matter to the division bench. Again, the division bench followed the judgment of the Calcutta High Court on the ground that the moment there is a criminal conviction against you or a criminal proceeding against you, you effectively cannot ask for a issuance of a fresh passport. Another reason why the courts were not agreeable with him or to his view or to his request is that the two courts in question, which is the NIA court and the Delhi High Court, have only issued a no objection certificate for issuance of a fresh passport. They never said that you can actually travel abroad. Therefore, what is the need of asking for a passport to be issued today? That seems to be the tenor of the two judgments. The Honorable Supreme Court and Justice Vikramnath and Justice Massey in this judgment have dealt with the interplay between the office memorandums issued by the Government of India under the Passports Act and the very meaning of Section 6(2)(f). They came to a conclusion that the moment the concerned courts who are monitoring the criminal trial have granted him no objection for issuance of a new passport, the passport authority could not have taken matters in their own hands and have denied him his extension of the passport. That seems to be the judgment. Of course, here the courts were not dealing with the issue of him wanting to travel abroad. Maybe that will happen in the next stage. The stage at this point was that his passport was expiring, was not being reissued, despite the orders being passed by the NIA court. So the Honorable Supreme Court has clarified the interplay between the Section 62F of the Passports Act, along with Section 22, saying that every citizen has the right to have a passport. And the moment the criminal courts have granted this no objection, it was not open for the passport authority to then hold on to the passport issuance and not issue the new passport. That seems to be the judgment. And they have, of course, dealt with the right of having a passport and right to travel enshrined under Article 21. And therefore, it can't be subverted by these, these devices, which when the courts themselves permit them to, get their passport issued. That is the whole judgment, if I could summarize it in a few minutes. Tarun, you're on mute.
Thank you, Advocate Sri Venkatesh, for explaining this to us. I'll go to Ma'am Pinky Anand for her comments on why do you think this is a good judgment and also why it sends a positive message in the industry.
So, Tarun, I think, in fact, the whole incredible journey regarding liberty and the fundamental right to get a passport or have a passport, which entitles you to be a citizen of this country and demonstrates your identity in that capacity as a national, is something that has been reinforced by the Supreme Court right from the times of Menka Gandhi's case, upholding the right to have a passport under Article 21 and as a fundamental right. So, when you start with that kind of proposition, to find that an industrialist's passport is being withheld, and not only contrary to Article 21, because ultimately you can, subject to reasonable restrictions, yes, and a court may, in a criminal case, in an appropriate case, direct that the passport be withheld and you can't travel also outside, depending on the fact whether you have to flee from justice, etc., or you might flee from justice. But in a case such as this, where the courts concerned had given orders for reissuance of the passport and granted that liberty, and despite that order, the passport officers choose not to reissue the passport on whatsoever grounds it may be, is totally contrary to the orders passed by the Supreme Court, the High Court, sorry, and contrary to the principles laid down in Article 21 of the Constitution. I think Justice Vikramnath's and Justice Basi's judgment comes as a breath of fresh air, because in this time and age, when you're talking about economic activity being the primary activity which concerns the life of citizens of India as much as the global world, and the fact that industrialists, entrepreneurs, businessmen have to travel abroad in order to pursue their call it vocation, or call it, I suppose it's vocation only, and to pursue their livelihood and pursue the betterment of citizens, and you withhold that on any ground, is something which is absolutely incredible. And I think Justice Vikramnath's order, which comes, as I said, as a breath of fresh air, to bring forth this light to say you can't do this. And the fact that the court has in any case safeguarded conditions to say that the industrialists will seek prior permission before going abroad, will deposit the passport once the travel is done, which is very standard, as we all know, in criminal cases. As it is, one of the criminal cases, in any case, I believe, has been closed. That's another matter. I'm not going to the merits of the matter. Here we are simply dealing with the liberty of a person to travel and whether it becomes a part and parcel of this fundamental freedom, as we say it. And I am glad that this verdict has come at an appropriate time to put forth a new benchmark onto the situation of business people and entrepreneurs to say, no, look, your activity is important. And equally important is the nationality and the right to have your passport to do so.
Thank you. Thank you for that intervention. I'll go to Justice Krishna Murari at this point, sir. Since this order came out, there's a general discussion in the business community that this has sent a positive message, mainly because the industrialists do feel that, sort of, if there is a clampdown on their travel, there are some black sheep, but because of that, every businessman can't be seen with suspicion. And how is he to do his business? So, a very positive message by Justice Vikram Nath and Justice A.G. Masih, in your view?
Yeah, of course. I would rather repeat what Pinky ji said, that it brings in a breath of fresh air. And apart from this, the most important thing is, as she rightly pointed out, that it's a fundamental right to have the passport. Traveling is entirely different from having a passport. Here the matter is already seized before the court. Obviously, if the person has to travel, then he'll have to seek permission from the court, and it is for the court to decide that whether he should be given this permission or not. Merely possessing a passport does not give you an absolute right to travel if the matter is before court. And there are, apart from the economic angle, business angle, there are other angles also with this judgment coming from Justice Vikram Nath and Justice A.G. Masih. Supposing some criminal trial is going on against somebody and he needs to go abroad for some specialized medical checkup or procedure to be done. Then, if his passport is not
Yes.
renewed, he cannot go for that medical emergency. Then there can be some, to us it may appear to be trivial reason, but emotion for a person, it may be very big emotional reason. Supposing somebody's son is getting graduated and he wants to attend that function. It is a sentimental attachment to that and some trial is going on. If the passport is not issued to him or not renewed, fresh passport is not issued or it's not renewed, then he cannot undertake that travel because passport is the basic requirement. That's an identity card issued to you that you are an Indian citizen. And on the basis of that, you apply for visa and you can travel. So, of course, the business hindrance affecting the economy of the country is something very big, which may have a very wide effect on the society in general. But even otherwise, for an individual, his cause may be very important. Like I pointed out, medical issue, some
Yes, you were
sentimental.
saying.
Somebody's daughter is getting married and a trial is going on there. He can't attend that marriage. So, in a way, this is a big leap towards further strengthening the fact that fundamental right is very important and it should not be tinkered with very easily. And in this case, what right passport officer had when no objection certificate was given by the judicial order?
Yes, that's a very fair point.
When the judicial order must have been passed, the court must have been cognizant of the Passport Act and that section 6(2)(a). Despite that, they said, yeah, we have no objection if the passport is reissued or renewed, whatever might have been the case.
Point very well taken. I'll take this to Advocate Sri Venkatesh. You deal with, I mean, in this case, of course, you appear for this company, but on the power sector side, I want to know from you, for Business India, you deal with a lot of business as part of your, work. What they look for the law enforcement agencies. Of course, prosecution is important, but what does industry want so that it can continue to invest in India? And what has this order by Justice Vikramnath and Justice A.G. Masih, what principles have they underlined, and what message do you think the industry has to take from this order?
Tarun, I think, when it comes to economic offenses, the lines between a promoter of a company and actions of an employee in the company are somewhat blurred. Of course, this is a subject matter of trial because a promoter, even though he's implicated by virtue of his company being involved on a prima facie view of some offense, he will have to face the entire process of trial to come out and then prove himself to be innocent. I mean, that should be that is really how these offenses are usually, these cases usually go on. I think what the business community looks at, in my understanding, is that during the pendency, because India is not a country where trial can be concluded in a very short span of time. It goes on for years, and it's not a fact that we can hide away from. So what the business community effectively looks at is that during the pendency of that trial, you should not be treated like a convict. Effectively, if you have liberties given to you under the Constitution, those liberties should not be trampled upon as a matter of routine. There are exceptional cases. For example, even in passports are impounded, travel permissions are denied to certain parties in necessary proportion exceptional cases. When there is an imminent threat that this person who is seeking to move out of the country would flee from the rigors of justice, and therefore it is imperative that his application to move abroad is be denied. So these are exceptional cases. There again, the court applies its mind and then says, yes, we find so and so allegation against you. We find your antecedents not to be very kosher, and therefore we deny your permission to go abroad. Now, what happened in this case? This case, the appropriate adjudicating authority applied its mind and said, yes, this is a simple case of extension of a passport tenure. I mean, the renewal of the passport. It said, yes, go ahead and get the passport renewed. Having gotten that order passed in their favor, was it then open for the passport authority to say, no, even though you have that order, we will not extend the passport? Because then this becomes not a it becomes an extrajudicial mean to deny your liberty when the courts themselves are protecting your liberty. That, according to me, is the interplay between the two. Therefore, when the judgment of this nature is delivered, whether it's this judgment, whether it was a judgment on the grounds of arrest being informed to a person before being arrested, 24 hours before he's being arrested, all these judgments actually embolden the faith in the judicial system to say that, look, we are getting a fair shake, even though we are facing whatever we are facing in terms of a criminal proceeding against us or a charge against us, despite which we're not treated as convicts till the decision is finally rendered by the court and the trial is finally concluded. I think that is really where the industrial the business community or the industrial body wants that kind of a treatment by its government and its policing agencies, so that they get a fair shake during the pendency. Had you been a country where trial could be concluded in 45 days, perhaps these requirements were not there, because you would see the light of your allegation at the end of 45 days or 3 months or 6 months. That is not the case here. Therefore, since it takes more time, therefore, unless and until there is an exceptional case made out against a particular accused or a particular person, you give them your liberties as you would give it to any normal citizen, because he's yet not convicted. He's facing the trial, but he's not convicted. I think that seems to be a positive,
Point,
draw from this judgment.
point very well taken, and indeed a positive message to the industry. I'll go to Ma'am Pinky Anand. I want to know from you that do you think the court standing up for the rights of, a right to do business, in a sense, because in the end, for most industrialists, travel is the, what you can say, oxygen as far as promotion of business goes. We know how often and how frequently big industries have to travel. Not even big, even mid-sized industries. Do you think court standing up for right in this case ensures that investment will continue to flow in India, because they are hopeful that the court will give them justice, the court will understand their needs, and the court will stand up for what is right? Over to you.
You're right. I mean, investment is not only done by means of other treaties and free trade agreements and others. It is the entire system is also built upon any kind of criminal proceedings or prosecutions thereof, and the systems that allow your liberty or not. In fact, as you know, there are so many times when people have faced major difficulties having come to India and being held back because of criminal cases being launched against them. So I would say it's a big step towards ensuring investment coming in and going out in whichever fashion it may be, because that's the way investment goes up and down various countries,
Yes.
inter-countries. And for purposes of that, whether people come to the country or we go outside the country, as industrialists will go and other people who are businessmen will go and entrepreneurs. I mean, today's world, look, Tarun, nothing can be held back within national barriers to that extent. Liberties to travel, to exchange, whether it is by means of, as I said, Zoom or other methods, or to actually travel, is something that you're entitled to do. Secondly, I think the signal is very clear. My liberty is mine. And to put a blemish on my liberty to travel, I mean, imagine if somebody is to go for a conference or for a business meeting, and there it is broadcast as this person has been disallowed to travel and his passport has been held back. There's already a blemish as far as the criminal case is concerned. Rightly or wrongly, I am not going into that. But the point is, in addition to the criminal case, you also have that his passport is now impounded or whatever has been done to it. The authorities are refusing to renew the passports. I mean, this will be front page news. And imagine his credibility. Not only the fact that he can't travel and his liberty, the fact that his credibility as a businessman is going to suffer great shakes. Who will engage with people with such reputations if this kind of news is going to go out? These are headline news as far as anybody is concerned. These people are leaders of industry in the country. And as I said, whatever they have to face on the merits of a case is a totally separate chapter. But as far as the interregnum is concerned, and Venkatesh is so right, I mean, it is a prolonged trial. So it's not only a question of 40 days or 45 days. This kind of liberty to travel today or tomorrow. Justice Krishna Murari was so right. You see, what if there's a medical emergency? Here you have a case where an order is made, renew the passport, and the passport authority is saying, well, he doesn't have to travel. No, well, he can travel, should travel, not travel. That's not for a passport authority to really decide. I mean, pendency is a ground to sometimes be able to deny, but in this case, you have a clear judicial order saying, please allow the renewal of the passport. And further conditions imposed, as I said, standard conditions. That you will advise the court when you're going. In many cases, they say you'll give the travel passport, you'll deposit your passport and you come back. And the idea is only, what is the idea of all these bail conditions? The idea is that you will present yourself when the case is done and you won't flee the course of justice. As simple as that. I mean, there are times I remember when this whole question of bail bond was considered, and the question was, why give a bail bond? Bail bond is simply to ensure your presence before the court as and when required, or before the authorities as and when required. That is the entire purpose of Section 436 CRPC as it stood. Of course, there's a new section which often I don't remember, but that is a condition of bails.
Thank you. Thank you for explaining this. I'll go to Justice Krishna Murari. So when I was speaking to businessmen, they said that please don't take this case as a passport case. Take this case of the business community's confidence in the court system in India to stand up for its rights. What do you have to say as your closing comment on this judgment by Justice of the Supreme Court?
The view expressed by these business people to you is absolutely correct, because they also have through this judgment they have realized that without there being the conviction, they will not be allowed to face the rigors of the conviction or the after effects of the conviction. Once you are convicted, finally, you are confined to the four corners of a jail, you are incarcerated, you cannot move out of that. But and it's a basic criminal jurisprudence, everybody is innocent unless proved guilty. So why make them face the consequences without being declared guilty? If you deny them this right to travel, right to do business, because it directly affects, right to travel is directly connected to the right of business, which is a guaranteed fundamental right. So indirectly you are violating, apart from Article 21, you are also violating Article 19, the right to do business. He's not yet a convict. He may have been convicted, but once, as Mr. Venkatesh said, that in appeal the sentence has been suspended. The suspension of sentence means as if there is nothing against him. Even if this sentence has been suspended, then, and with the permission of the court, that they have no objection to the grant or renewal of the passport authority was well outside its jurisdiction to have taken a different view only on the basis of the provisions of the Passport Act, which normally, supposing somebody is having an FIR registered against him, the passport authority, when you make an application, they send it for police verification to ensure that there is nothing pending against you. Here, everything is open. The courts have given no objection certificate. So, this business community have taken it rightly that the courts are there to ensure that their fundamental rights are not violated. And in such time, they are finally convicted. There seems to be no justification to stop them from doing their normal business. So this is actually, the courts have really gone 2 steps forward, and to ensure that their dignity, as rightly pointed out, if supposing a big business meeting is held somewhere abroad, where investors are to meet the businessman, and he says, and their message goes that, look here, his passport has been impounded or his passport has been denied and he cannot travel.
Yes.
Then there's a stigma on him without being convicted.
He might lose the investment opportunity altogether. In fact, this is something that a lot of people tell me.
Correct, Tarun. He will lose the investment opportunity, and the ultimate loss will be of the country. Because if he brings in finances, does business, then he generates employment, then these products are sold, taxes are paid to the government, so it affects the economy of the entire country. One simple passport officer sitting there and denying it without any jurisdiction, without any power. So,
but beautifully put, Justice. Very beautifully put, Justice Krishnamurthy. Indeed a laudable order by Justice Vikram Nath and Justice A.G. Masih. And it is time to time when courts give such orders, we must definitely praise the courts because they're sticking their neck out and for something which is right and something which will promote business, generate employment, and give confidence to the business and the investors to put money in this country from which all of us will benefit. I would like to thank Justice Krishna Murari, Ma'am Pinky Anand, Senior Advocate, served as ASG, Advocate Sri Venkatesh, for taking out time for this very important issue, which is at the heart of corporate India, and joining us on and sort of speaking their mind out on this issue. Appreciate your joining us. Thank you so very much.
Thank you for giving us.
Thank you so much, Tarun. Delightful.
Thank you.
more such videos, subscribe to the Newsx YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.